us a little bit about you. Just give us a heads up on, who you are, what kind of people you're teaching, any kind of background info you want to share with us.
Yeah, well, I think I've been singing since I was a child. In fact, my daughter now sings herself to sleep just like I used to, and she's about 11, but I've been singing since about then. I started singing in a choir, actually, a church choir. I remember the lady came around from the church to our primary school and she had everybody in year 3 singing. And after this singing session, she called my mother numerous times to say, "Oh, your daughter Naomi has a lovely voice and we'd like her to join the choir." And at the time I said, "Oh no, I'm sailing on Sundays. I don't want to go join the choir." But eventually my interest was piqued enough and I went and joined the choir and I just loved it. And I mean, at the time we sang hymns and it was all classical music. It wasn't any popular modern stuff. So I was singing from when I was about 11. And then I played the piano. I decided I wanted to learn the piano. And that morphed into playing in the school band. I had to play the flute. So I played the flute in the primary school band. And then when I got to high school, along the way, the high school teacher, I was sitting there playing my flute and he said, "Well, there's 29 flutes and you play the piano, so you can read bass clef and you've got long fingers. So can you please play the bassoon?"
Oh.
So they moved me onto the bassoon. And then, I've always been musical. Playing piano and bassoon became my 2 other instruments. But all the time singing, always singing. And through high school, I sang in musicals at the high school. And then when I finished school, in fact, I was encouraged to not go into singing. At the time, it was thought that I was too young and I shouldn't go to the conservatorium. But maybe I could go on the bassoon and then I could do my singing on the side. So this was, sort of an interesting turn for me. So instead of singing, which I think was what I really wanted to do, I actually went to the conservatorium and I played the bassoon. And I did a degree playing the bassoon and I played in orchestras but all the time sang. So I sang in community opera and community music theatre and all the time having lessons. So, and then, that morphed into, when I finished at the conservatorium playing bassoon, I still wanted to sing. So I then thought, well, if I'm going to sing, I'm going to have to go and study singing properly. But I didn't want to stay in Sydney. So I had heard that the Queensland Conservatorium had a great program. And so I moved to Queensland, the sunny state, and I absolutely loved Queensland. It's always sunny, it's always warm, and I had a wonderful time in Queensland with teachers at the conservatorium and all singing classical. It was classical and opera repertoire, and I ended up getting into the Opera Queensland chorus. So that was really exciting, and every year I'd do 3 operas in the chorus, and that was quite exciting for me to be singing in the chorus. And I did that for about 6 years.
Neat.
And it was probably around that time that I started to have an interest in teaching as well. I think it was also it was a financial thing as well.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about your studio. What sort of people do you teach in your studio?
We can see you're in there now.
You can see my beautiful studio. Yes, yeah. It's lovely.
Who are you working with? Who comes to you?
Currently, now I'm working with a lot of high school students, a lot of students working towards their final year exams. So in Australia, or in New South Wales, where the part of Australia I live, it's called the HSC. And so students working towards those final exams for that music elective, I work a lot with those sorts of students. And I'm also now working a lot with students who are auditioning for university, for colleges, music colleges, WAPA and NIDA and Victorian College of the Arts, places like that. And also I have singers who come to me who sing with choirs and just have, you know, so they're not maybe professional singers, but they have a real interest in music and they want to sing, they want to learn how to sing better. They want to improve where they're at. So yeah, I have a wide range of ages. And as well as working in my studio, I actually teach in high schools. So I work at 2 different private high schools, and students come out of class. So, and some of those students are quite young. I have some boys at one of the schools who are 11-year-olds, young students.
So you're on our accreditation program, the Singing Teacher Accreditation Programme. Why this program?
Yeah, that I think it's really important because you're obviously quite highly trained as a musician and you've worked professionally as a singer. So what has, and you're already teaching, what has drawn you to do further training?
Well, I actually felt like I didn't really understand what I was doing when it came to contemporary singing. That was really the change, because over the years, students' interest in classical singing sort of seemed to wane, and I kept finding that more and more students were singing in a contemporary style, and I felt that perhaps I didn't really have the skills. It just didn't cross over the classical training. I mean, some stuff does, but it's quite different. And I actually was introduced to your programs by the ANATS group in Australia, Australian National Association of Teachers of Singing. And there was a conference on the Gold Coast, and I was attracted to, let's go to the Gold Coast. Yeah, I'll give that a go, I thought.
Is that where we first met?
That's where we first met.
Oh, amazing.
And I didn't know anything about you or what I was going to learn that weekend. And it was a bit of a mind-blowing trip for my head, because there was so much that I felt I didn't know. And it was a bit of I felt like there were pieces of my puzzle missing. And I think too, when I trained, it's different now. But when I trained, there wasn't actually any study into physical anatomy of the voice. We didn't actually get any of that sort of scientific training. All I really had, and in those years, we really only had our teacher telling us, well, this is how you sing. And we had language studies and we had drama and dance and things like that. But actually, we didn't have what happens to our voice. How does it actually function? And so I felt like that piece was really missing. And when I met you guys on the Gold Coast, I thought, this is really good. I don't understand. I think I need to do some more.
So you must have signed up for the course that was going to happen in Melbourne in May 2020 or whenever it was, April, May. And then, of course, the pandemic saw that off. And then you came, I think, probably on the very first online singing teacher training. And that's how we met you, isn't it?
That's right. When I saw that was happening, I thought, well, this is going to be great. I don't have to leave home. And I can learn in the comfort of my own home. And it was just a fantastic week. Like, I learned so much. But the thing that really, really stuck with me that week was just how it was a small group. And I felt that I was listened to. And I felt that I was able to ask questions that I didn't know the answers to. And I felt silly almost asking, but it was just such a welcoming community, all the other students, and you also were very encouraging and always open to help and support, and you really wanted to nourish us, I think, and that's how I felt. I just felt very enriched by the whole experience.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's really precious to hear, actually.
And also,
thank you for that.
When people feel that a question is silly and they ask it anyway, there is always someone else in the group going, I so wanted to ask that question, but didn't feel I could. So we love questions.
And the nurturing, I think, is important, because as teachers, we want to nurture our students. And so for us as course trainers, we want to nurture that group that we've got in front of us. And I think if I kind of move forward to the accreditation, because you leapt into that, you took that leap. You guys are nurturing each other on that course, aren't you? So I mean, if we fast forward to having done weeks 1, 2, and 3, you took a deep breath and decided you were going to spend another 12 months with us. And
I did.
Why was that? Why?
Oh, I just felt like I wasn't finished. I felt like there was still so much to discover, I think it was, because you learn so much in that online singer teacher training course. And I did, yes, do all 3. Plus I have joined in on many of your other workshops. And every time I would walk away going, oh, wow, yes, I can use that. And then I'd go away and try something in a different way, and it would work with my students. Or if it didn't, there was always another avenue. You'd sort of, there was different ways to approach singers' issues, I think, and I really just wanted to jump in and give it a go.
I was going to ask you, how do your students feel about this?
Yes, different. In fact, I had a student, I felt like it was a wow moment the other day, because I had a student who they've always asked me about, so do I do this in my chest voice or should I do this in my head voice? And in the past, it's almost bothered me and sort of unsettled me a little bit, because I've felt like I haven't been able to explain the concept so well. And I've been talking to her about the way the registers work, M1, M2, and how it's really one voice that changes the way it works throughout. And for the first time in her lesson the other day, she was singing, and she actually said to me, oh, so you think I should sing this in a heavier M1? Is that what you mean? And I said, yes, I do. That's exactly what I want here. And I thought, oh my goodness, it was one of the first times one of my students had really understood what we'd been talking about, and taken it is a bit of a change in terminology, I think, for some students and for teachers, but it makes so much sense to me now. So
I think the important thing is it's got to make the sense to you. And if your students come from a background where they use that chest and head voice, you can go with that, because now you understand what's meant by it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I find I am switching around, and I'm feeling more comfortable working with students who come from a different background, because I feel like I understand what they're saying now. Yeah. It doesn't feel so foreign. But yeah, they really enjoy, I mean, I do a lot more SOVT exercises with them. We play around more. It actually is more playful, I think, our lessons. We have a lot of fun working on a particular issue in a lesson, rather than perhaps working on several issues in a lesson. I find it's a lot easier for me now to hone in and go, okay, I'm going to take this to work with today, because this seems to be the biggest issue. And I think in the past I haven't always been able to see. There's been so many things. So, and your training's really helped me to find one thing to work on.
Music to our ears, Naomi.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think also what's nice about what you're saying is you're talking about it's more playful, because I think sometimes what we take from, the more traditional models is that it's about getting it right, and that we as teachers, we're looking at that. We want to get it right. We can see a number of things that we want to fix. But if you're playful, it stops being about that, and it stops being about that for the student. So there's more discovery and more success.
And there's more choice as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to ask, Naomi?
That's very true.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Where do you hope to be by the end of this process?
Well, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to be at the end. I'm a bit open. However, I'm already noticing that my confidence levels in teaching have grown, and I feel I feel actually ready to open this new studio that I've just built. And I feel confident in teaching all different ranges. I think also I'm starting to feel that I want to specify, I want to be a bit more specific in my age range. Like I'd actually like to move with my age range a little bit older. I feel really comfortable with my older students, sort of 14 and onwards, whereas the younger students, it is quite a different setup. So yes, I'm really open to where I'm going to go with this.
That's really good.
I think that's very exciting.
And also, I think part of
and it is exciting. It is.
Part of the accreditation program is to help you find what it is that you do best and where you want to be. So I love the idea that you're already looking at the clientele that you want to work with.
Okay, so how can people find you? You're in New South Wales, did you say?
I'm in, yes, New South Wales, in Sydney. I'm actually at the northern end of Sydney. My studio is now called Northside Voice Studio, Naomi Lewandoski. I will be on Facebook very soon. It's all coming. And they can contact me on my email address, naomilewandoski@gmail.com.